Welcome to Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews, the only show that's going to teach you
how to be somebody.
Where in your life did you learn that you're not good enough?
Take what you're most passionate about and what you're most fearful of, and what is the plan to overcome that fear, and what is the plan to enact that passion.
What was crazy today?
Hi, Facebook.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming on. Waves to everybody on Instagram.
Lean back. It's like, there you go. You're taking over everything.
You're in the shadows.
Yeah.
In the dark side. No, it's shallows.
Oh, Shallows. Whatever that song is from
A Star is Born.
Star
Welcome,
is
everybody.
Born.
How you doing today? Okay, so, sorry. My name is Aaron Armstrong. I am the owner of the company Armstrong Ventures, which is a leadership consulting company, and I do work with people over social media. I also do work with people in person, and this is my podcast, Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews. I record it on Instagram, Facebook, and I also put it up to iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, the whole works. So this is my lovely wife.
Well, this is part of your podcast. Like, he has really good
I have
solo,
guests. I have solos.
totally without me episodes that are like really epic.
This is just one that we'll repurpose because I'm affected with my time.
Well, I'm Marissa Armstrong. For those of you who do not know me, and I own Marissa's Boutique right here in downtown Oshkosh, if you are a Wisconsin native. And we just have a lot of fun there.
Yeah. So
Oh,
here's
God.
a crazy story which happened.
Actually, speaking of Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
It wasn't in
Anyway.
Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Oh, right, it was in
Yeah,
Neenah.
Neenah, Wisconsin. Okay, so here's what happened today. Let's tell you a quick story. Believe it or not, and it's actually some somber news, I guess, but we were driving back from our lovely trip to Costco, which didn't have any celery, by the way.
Mm-mm.
There's no celery at Costco
So
again.
a typical Sunday for us is church, brunch, Costco, because that just sounds like so much fun.
It's pretty wild.
In all seriousness.
It's pretty exhilarating once you get married. I know. Most people are hungover on their couch. We're just going to Costco to get more celery juice. Anyway, so we're coming back from Costco, and they didn't have celery today. And it's a crazy, weird storm here. And so if you guys have been watching and following the news in the Midwest, there's been a ton of snow. When the snow got wet and then it froze, and then there was more snow that came on top of it. And then what ended up happening was we had a windstorm. So this wind is blowing these crazy snow drifts across the road. Like, my truck is almost being blown off the road at this time. So I'm driving down the highway, and we go to Costco. We're coming back from Costco, and we're about to get on the highway. And actually, believe it or not, my grandma texts me, and she says, "Stay off of the highway today." And we're like, okay. So before getting off the exit, we pull over and we called her, and we're like, "What's going on the highway?" She says, "There's a 40 car pile."
Like, we're not in New Jersey. We're in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people in
40
this state. I mean, there's like 40 people in the whole state, maybe.
Pile up.
Anyway, there's a 40-car pileup, and this is breaking news today. And we're about to get on the highway, but my grandma tells us that, and so we get off the highway. And we don't go on the highway, and this is happening live. People are still going on the road, and they don't even know because there's such blinding windstorm. This is blowing
It's like
so much
whiteout.
snow, it's
You
complete
can't see in
whiteout.
front of you at all.
So they're watching this live, people just stacking up and stacking up and stacking up in this car wreck. And then we ended up coming back, and we started following on the news, and we saw that at least the last we saw was that one person ended up losing their life from this. And a whole bunch of other people were injured and at the hospital. And it just like brings you back down to earth to realize like it could be over so quickly, like so quickly. We were just going on our average typical Sunday run. And here we are now looking at a 40-car pileup that could have been us involved in that, because it was going right where we were going. And it's crazy. And I was thank God for my grandma sending us that text and telling us she's been following this and watching this live. And you know, my hat's off and God bless, and prayers with the families now that are trying to deal with some of this. And this is going to be devastating to our local community, obviously, because there's not a ton of people in this area. So when big devastating things like this happen, it's pretty unusual.
And what I think the crazy part is, too, because you can watch the live stream on Facebook of the whole thing happening, and it happens in less than 6 minutes, unless it was, like, sped up.
No, it was 6
No,
minutes
it was like
because
6
people were
minutes.
running. You could see them.
From the time, like, the first car hit the other car to 40 more cars piling up, it was a span of 6 minutes that did that much damage.
And then that's where you start to think it can all be over like that in 6 minutes, right? 6 minutes, your whole life could be completely different. And So what do you do about the moment you're in today? And I think so many people are fixated on the future, or they're fixated on things that don't necessarily matter, and they're not coming back to the present. So our stat today here that we're going to share with everybody, and that's what you have tagged here on the side, is the number one reason people 18 to 33 ... What does that mean? It's the number one reason people between the ages of 18 to 33 years old do not start businesses, do not jump into their life's passion, do not start doing something they love, is because of one fear. And that is the fear of judgment or rejection. And it's like, now bring that back to the story we just told you here. Bring that back to saying this whole car pileup, like it could be over in a minute. And I put an advertisement together that's been going around social media, and it's about how you have a finite number of seconds in your life, and it's like, how do you make those seconds count for something that really matters? And for some of you guys that are holding back from something that you really want to do and you really want to push forward with because of a fear of judgment, something that's not serving you, that's when you got to start thinking about, is it worth my time to be thinking? Is it worth the energy to put judgment in my face and the time sacrifice because I'm wasting my time dealing with judgment to not execute on your goals, to not execute on your passion? You gonna share this?
Share what?
My Facebook.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, keep talking.
Okay, good.
Share what?
Oh yeah, she was like, share what? Anyway.
Oh gosh.
What I'm trying to get at here is that we only have so much time in our lives. And it's like, why do you spend that time and that mental real estate occupying other people's opinions or perceptions of you? So we'll start out with a story with actually Marissa's Fit Boutique.
Well, I think too, actually, before we get to that, where we got this statistic is I was at a women's meeting just here in our local town, where a lot of different professional women come together, different owners, entrepreneurs, management, come together once a month, and we have a different guest speaker. One of the guest speakers was from the local college here. She runs like a new department for entrepreneurs. And she said this statistic that, the number one reason people 18 to 33, so millennials I don't know whatever the generation is behind us, their number one reason why they are so fearful to start a business is because of this judgment of other people and what other people are going to be thinking of them. So honestly, if you break that down, you're fearing your internal thoughts, because clearly this business has not happened. You are stopping yourself because of your internal thoughts. All the what ifs, all the buts, all the hows. It hasn't even happened yet. People have not put out their judgment yet. The hard part hasn't even begun. You are fearing all the what ifs. When do you stop and look at, what have I been telling myself? What has this inner dialogue been doing to me? I'm sure this inner dialogue that's fearing this judgment is really influenced a lot of areas in your life. Not just the part where you want to start a business, but probably in different relationships, and probably career choices, and probably just day-to-day living, that you're fearing this judgment from other people, or you want to be this people pleaser and please everybody around you.
Here's the thing too.
So when do we think about our own thoughts?
It's about, and this is what I call paralysis by analysis. How many people aim, never shoot, because they get so caught up in what if I miss? What if I miss here? What if I miss here? Mm-hmm. And it's this fear that's stopping you from actually focusing on the target and pulling the trigger. When intuition and logic meet, you act every time. If one of those is off, that's when you start to step back and you reassess. Now, I have run into so many different people that say, well, what if this scenario with this scenario with this scenario could happen? It's like, well, that didn't happen. In fact, that's very unlikely. So don't get possibilities and probabilities mixed up, right? So be very careful the differences between possibilities and probabilities. Lots of things are possible, but they're still not probable. That doesn't mean you can not react to something, right? So make sure you're starting to take action every single day in something that when your intuition, your logic meet. So I was blown away by this statistic, but mostly because Marissa and I are naturally very action driven. Like, we don't necessarily fear going out into the unknown. However, we did run up into a lot of these different kind of fears when we were starting our businesses, mostly when we were starting Marissa's Fit Boutique. And I remember back when we first got this going. Now, this is a town in Wisconsin, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It's not exactly the most trendy place to live, right? So like there's a whole,
we love it.
We love it. Yeah, it's fun. Well, actually, it's great because you can really hedge your bet. So like everything will catch up to Oshkosh in about 5 years. So if you go to like a trendier place like Silicon Valley or Austin, Texas or
Or
something.
even just Chipotle.
Yeah, right.
We
You
don't
just-
have Chipotle.
you can go, you can be like, okay, well, in 5 to 10 years, this will show up in Oshkosh. So it's like, wow, you want to be able to predict the market trends, boom, you're good. So anyway, what we want to do is bring personal training studio into Oshkosh. There's a couple personal trainers in the area, not many. And how much response did we get saying, it'll never catch on here? People are just beer drinking, ice fishing, cheese eating, people that just have no interest in health and nutrition, and it'll never catch on. They don't care about, they're not going to pay you this amount
Even
of money.
though my prices were compatible to the YMCA and other training studios in town that have been
Competitive,
around.
not
Compatible. I'm sorry, competitive. My
They
bad.
love each other. Their prices love each other.
They were competitive to other people in town, and even though, like, there's a place here that's been here since like 1988, apparently, a personal training studio.
Yeah, well, we haven't heard of it.
Yeah, well,
For marketing.
I've just realized that, and it's just, you know, like they're very competitive prices, and even people were like, "What? Like, this is never gonna work. How come you're not in a bigger city? How come, you know, you're kind of cutting off your niche marketing because it is kind of aimed towards more like women's fitness. So it's like 50% of those people, you know, you're not not accepting, but like not marketing towards." So it was really interesting how much pushback I did receive, because the easiest route for me moving to a new town would have been join the YMCA, get the job at the YMCA, be a personal trainer at the YMCA, meet more people. But there's so many ways around to meet more people in your area. I can't even tell you the amount of people I have met by starting my own business, meeting other local business owners.
You should tell the story of when my dad told you about the leadership thing.
Yeah, so I mean, this goes back so far. Talk about, what is your driver? Like, what is that internal dialogue? What is that moment in your life where you just turned like that, where you just flipped a switch on, you're like, that's it, I'm doing it. And I remember when I was working in El Paso, we were living in El Paso at the time. Oh, this story is such a good one. I'm so happy you brought it up. I was living in El Paso at the time with AJ. We weren't married. And I was a manager. I was a manager at a gym, a very high-end studio with like a lot of pressure put on myself because of the poor management, I want to say, upper supervisor,
Well, all the way through owner. So
chaos,
manager, so-
yeah, owner. There's just so much chaos within the gym. And a lot of it I felt responsible by being like the gym manager at the time. And I blame myself, and I put a lot on myself for external things I couldn't control that was from a higher up position of the owner. And I remember my in-laws, so AJ's parents, were in town one day.
So my
and
dad,
I
like, just to give you
came-
a little character of my dad, he's very skeptical. So that's not very good. I'm very visionary-like. He's really grounded, very skeptical, very masculine, very rules, very follow the steps, very risk-averse. This is his personality. So
And
my dad.
I came home crying. I remember I had worked like 14 hours from like 5:30 in the morning until about 7:30 at night. I came home, I was just in tears. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea what to do with my team. I was just being constantly blamed for everything under the sun. And I couldn't even compose myself. I was so emotional about all the things that happened throughout the day and all the triggers. And I was in the kitchen, and I remember my mother-in-law like consoling me. And
'Cause they were visiting at the time.
yeah, they were busy at
Yeah.
the time. And then I heard, like, I guess maybe you were talking to your dad, but I heard my father-in-law at that moment say, some people just weren't meant to be leaders. And I was like, whoa. Because I always looked at myself as a leader. I always looked at myself as the person who was willing to go first, as the person who wanted to take the risk, who wanted to do something different. And I was like, wow. My boss doesn't look at me as a leader. My father-in-law doesn't look at me as a leader. And as much as that kind of hurt and stung at the moment, it was the best thing anybody has ever said to me, because that was the fire I needed to be lit within myself. I knew at that moment that Biometric, or I shouldn't say the name, but where I was working at the time was just not for me. I do things differently. I was ready to start my own gig. I was ready to set sail on my own and be the leader of my own team in my own business, going my own direction. Yeah, that stings. That stings when somebody says that about you. But again, like, I look at that, and that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I'm actually grateful for that moment. I take full responsibility in that entire situation and how that led up to, somebody's persona of myself.
It's just crazy how, like, when you start listening to what other people say versus not listening to people who are trying to limit you or reject you, right? So it's like Christ says, or Paul says, test all spirits, right? So it's like test all spirits is the same thing you want to do. Anything, all roads that lead to Scripture is a good road, right? So think of that in your life. All roads that lead to empowering you. Any words of encouragement, words of advice, people that feed into your spiritual mission, those are the type of words you want to use to uplift yourself. I mean, I'll give you guys an example too. When I first started out doing this podcast, right? So this was a big transformation for me because I was always an extrovert. I was a party boy. I was the life of the party. Say whatever I want. Be as vulgar as I could possibly be for attention. It was awesome. That was my life. So
I'm going to cut you off right there. For people who are joining in, we're talking about how the number one reason why people from age 19 to 33 do not start their own business, do not start their own thing because of fear of judgment. Keep going.
Yeah.
Just for those tuning in.
Thanks, guys. Anyway, so when I went to go start this podcast, I had a close group of friends that knew me as Party AJ, always a good time, says whatever he wants kind of guy. And then I started to say, like, what can I do that provides more value to people and contributes? So I was playing around with all this different podcasting stuff, and I was trying to get a good idea of what is my brand, what is my touch. And that's when I started to say, I need to just speak from the heart and the soul. So I do swear, I do curse a lot, I do a lot of this stuff. But then my close group of friends almost were like, well, what is AJ doing up there? Like, I don't know him as this person that's a motivator, that's just someone to help. Like, he's just someone you go out and have parties with, you have a good time with. Like, that's not the AJ. And it's like, they didn't see all of the internal work I've done over the last several years to really transition myself into a place of service. Because most people stop working on themselves that way. So they didn't know me as that AJ. So they eventually, when I started doing this, I was sharing on my personal Facebook and all this stuff, all my close friends, they didn't even want to invite me out anymore. They didn't want to talk to me. They still, this day, it's like being a whole new type of friendship. My family was like, what are you doing? You've got this incredible job. Like, you're going to lose your job by the stuff you're saying on this podcast.
By speaking your voice.
And I said, then who cares, right? It's like, if I'm doing something where I'm speaking my soul and the result is I lose a job, it's like, whatever. Who cares? Like, the whole thing is when I get texts from people, and I get messages, and I get DMs that say, I listened to your podcast, this totally changed my life. I'm not kidding you. People send me these types of messages. I don't care what my family thinks, and they're like, my family knows me as the high schooler that decided to leave his underwear on the floor too long, right? So it's like, well, this isn't the kid that, what do you mean? What do you make qualifies you to speak on a podcast? It's like, look, I learned how to pick my underwear up and do my laundry sometime between the ages of 17 and today, right? So it's like, you got to start to understand that people know you as the little snapshot in time that they know you as, right? So they don't know the soul that you know yourself. So it's like, what qualifies them to give you direction over yourself? You know yourself better than they know you. Therefore, you need to take control and take power of your own destiny. So that gives you I'm giving you the permission to act on your strengths, act on the things that you believe you're qualified to do. There's no reason to be feared of being judged because the people judging you don't know you. They never will. No one's going to know you as well as you know you. So it's like, that's the whole thing. When I was having this podcast, nobody knew that I was a great speaker until I started speaking on a podcast. Nobody knew I was a great public speaker until I started speaking in public. And then people wanted me to speak more and speak to them and talk and all this different stuff. But the people in my close friends group just knew me as the party boy, the fun guy, the guy that can really get the place going, the wild card. That's what I was known as. But they only knew me as a snapshot in time for like 6 months to a year of my existence, where I've been constantly internally talking to myself about different things all of the time. So think about that, and as it applies to your life. If you're going to be taking criticism to heart from somebody that knows you for seconds, minutes, even years, but doesn't know you
on social media
your entire life. Like, think about the ratio. Why would you put that much energy in towards that little much of them knowing you and giving you direction? So that's what I mean. It's all about, there's no reason to give someone permission to control you like that. So the number one reason people 18 to 33 refuse to start businesses or do something or follow their passion is because of a fear of being judged. I'm here to tell you that Who are you being judged by, and what qualifies them to judge you? Because last time I checked, in the Bible, it says only one person can judge you. It's not even a person. It's an entity. It's a divine God. It is our God. That's the only person that can judge you. So if people are judging you, who gives a flying shit? Really, who cares? And this one goes to all of us, especially because at our very core, we fear rejection. We fear not being loved. We fear abandonment. These are things that come all the way at us into our soul. So if we can know that it's just a fear of rejection that we're dealing with, and you know that going into it, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go into this podcast knowing I'm going to be rejected by some people. Oh, okay, good. I at least faced the dragon with my sword and my shield, right? So it's like now you can start to dance with the fear. So I knew that when I started going on my podcast, I knew my close friends were going to make fun of me. To this day, they make fun of me. My close friends, they say, oh, AJ's podcast talking about how much money he makes when we're here scraping money together to try and get frozen pizzas. It's like, that's fine. But that second thing is your close family. Your family knows you as the kid that you were. They grew you up, but they haven't seen you and how you change and the internal work you're doing and how much lives you can change. Nobody knows that but you and you God. That's it. So you need to start answering to those two people. That's why I say seek validation vertically. Do not seek it horizontally. Seek it vertically. Those people that you help will reassure you that you're helping them. And then you will help. You will look upstairs and you'll say, look, he knows. I'm seeking validation from him. Right? That's what you want to look at. You don't want to look horizontally. These people don't know. Your friends, your family, all these people around you.
You're out of Instagram.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, that's what I mean, guys. Seek validation vertically. Don't seek it horizontally. And I'm giving you permission now to follow into the passion that you work. Take action on what you need to take. Don't fear judgment. Fear judgment from one person, Christ. That's it. That is it. Don't fear judgment from anybody else, because all roads lead back to that, right? So those are the things we wanted to bring up today. I know that Marissa had a crazy experience when we first started off with this Fit Boutique. Everybody in the world was giving us advice on what to do, what not to do, how it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And they're blown away when it works. Like, oh my gosh, she's really got a great business. And then it's like, oh, well, now you can't take off as much because you got all these clients stacking your whole schedule. It's like, well, that's a great problem to have. That's really what it turned into. Everyone says you're not going to have any clients. We fill up a ton of clients, and they say, well, now you won't get as much time off. The whole point of doing this is to transform lives, right? That's what we're doing. Like, the busier I am, the more helpful I'm becoming. The more helpful I am, the more valuable I am. The more valuable I am, the better I'm changing the world.
I guess, too, you really got to look at that. You know, if you are going to have somebody judging what you're doing, that means you're doing something. That means you're actually doing something. You're being influential. You're out there. You're risking, what you have to say. You're putting yourself out there. Like, kudos to you, because people don't do that. Like, think about it right now. Think about it. If you had to jump on a Facebook Live right this second and your life was on the line, what would you be fearing? What would you be fearing? Not failing. I know everybody knows where the Facebook Live button is. You'd succeed at that in 5 seconds. But you would be fearing what people are going to say right now, right this second, because you've just been afraid to really put yourself out there. I challenge you. Go live on a Facebook. Go live on Instagram. It is a thrill. It brings out your authentic self. And that allows people to see you for who you really are and what you are marketing and what you are about or what you bring into this world. I don't know. I definitely challenge you, because there are so many people who don't put themselves out there, and then you won't be judged. I mean, that's the simplest way not to be judged, is don't put yourself out there.
Yeah, stay back.
If you're looking to make a difference, if you're looking to make a change, if you're looking to just put your voice out there and what you believe in and what you know will help other people, do it.
Take the risk, right? And it's not even really a risk. What is it a risk to? It's a risk towards your feeling that you may be rejected. That's your risk. So if you say, okay, I have a risk that I'm going to feel rejected if I do this, and you just know that going into it, then do it. But that's the thing. When you start stepping into your strong point of view, when you start breaking away from the mold and starting to become a leader, you will be judged. You'll be criticized. That's how you know you've become great. I mean, Christ says, right? The ones who become persecuted are the ones who become great, right? It's about understanding that you will face persecution when you start to challenge the status quo, because you're breaking through a new direction, blazing a trail as a leader. And that's what we all are here. That's all the people that tune in. That's all the people that listen to this podcast. All the people that are around us. That we're in this community, us together. I'm talking to you guys right here. We're leaders. And you have to understand that as a leader, you're going to have to do things. You're going to have to make decisions. You're going to have to blaze a trail. You're going to have to do something unique, do something different, do something challenging by the definition. Because if you're going to be a sheep, you're going to go along with the herd and you're never going to have any rest. But if you want to change the herd and lead the herd in a new, different direction, then you're going to start to face adversity, because that's called facing the abyss in Joseph Campbell, right? It's about going off into the unknown, which is the scary part. And that's the fear that people run into. The number one reason people don't exercise their rights and their, to go out there and start a business is because of that fear.
And if you're watching this right now and you're like, yes, like I've had this idea, I've had this thought, I really want to follow through with it. I'm like right there to just really executing this plan that I have in place. Then just remember, this really helps me. You can't control other people's emotions. Those who are anxious, those who have a lot of anxiety, those who, almost have those depressed feelings, it's because you are trying to control what other people are going to think about you. And it's impossible. You cannot control other people's emotions. So once you let that go, it is so freeing. It is so, so freeing, because those who judge you are being triggered by you. So it's kind of nice to look back, like, why is this person being so triggered by me? What is going on within them that is stemming this internal fire within them that they need to put me down or say something negative?
They were too afraid to do it.
Yeah. So what is that trigger within them? So it's interesting to kind of look back on being like, my prices aren't, they have nothing to do with the person who's judging me. It's what is going on internally with them, why they are thinking that.
It's crazy, right?
So if you really pull the curtain back, dissect it a little bit more, it has nothing to do with you. You can't control what the other person's thoughts are about you or their emotions are towards you. You never will. So let that go.
And some of you guys might be thinking too, like, I know me personally, I like to have a sounding board. I like to be validated that my idea is good, that my idea is worth something, right? So that's the thing so I'll start seeking out people horizontally to try to help me validate my ideas or validate things, right? So it's like, if you're going to do that, you need to find the right people horizontally, right? So if you guys call me and you want to have a coaching call, and you want to tell me about your business ideas, this happens almost weekly, and someone starts talking about what their business idea is, the first thing I'm going to ask them is, well, why is this important to you? It's the first question I'm going to ask. Why is this business idea important to you? And then I get a whole bunch of different reasons. The number one reason is typically, well, I think it's a good market, or I think it's got a good opportunity to be successful, or I think it's a good way to help me build passive income. I hear that one all the time, right? I think it's a this or that. And I say, well, that's a stupid idea. If you're doing something solely for the point because you think it's a hot market, you think it's you think it's going to sell really quickly, you think it's a good way for passive income, throw that idea out. You should be doing things to contribute value because your soul feels so connected to helping somebody that that's really why you want to do it. Like, that's why the most successful entrepreneurs are the ones that get so passionate about what they're doing, they can't let anybody tell them that they're wrong. They feel like, this is my soul's calling. And that's why if you just care about the money, go into sales. Don't be an entrepreneur. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you better care about your product or service so much that you want to give that to every single person in the world. So it's like, when you care that much, the opinions of Joe Smo, Sally Sue, all of these stupid people are going to be irrelevant because you have so much more to contribute to the world. And it's like, when that starts clicking in your mind, in your brain, in your soul, you're going to start to see totally different levels of success. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be incredibly different. So when I hear entrepreneurs say that to me, they're like, it should be a great way to make money. I think this blockchain, or I think that trading freaking cryptocurrency, all this different stuff, it's the future. It's all this different stuff. I'm like, where in your soul does it say that you are born to trade crypto? It's just like, well, what does that mean? You should be looking at, where can I bring the most value to people? And if you can't bring value to people yet because you're still trying stuff yourself, well, then try it, learn it, practice it. How many times do basketball players go in the court and they practice every single free throw before they come up and they shoot a free throw in a game, right? Thousands of times, millions of times sometimes, right? So you got to be thinking of that the same way with your life. Instead of just jumping on social media and decide to start blabbing and talking and doing all this different valuable crap, why don't you start to refine your skills, figure out what you're really good at, your strengths and weaknesses, and then bring that out to the world. So here's what I'm coming back to, guys. Understand your why. And if your why is strong enough, you won't give a flying crap what anybody else thinks of you. And you won't care what these horizontal people think of you. You should only be looking vertically. The people that you can help beneath you and the person you can serve above you. And that's really the true answer here, guys. So that's what I wanted to bring out today, because there's so much talk going around the stat. The 18 to 33-year-olds are afraid because of judgment. How many business ideas do you think were lost there?
And I wonder if that's because of like a social media age, or like really putting yourself out there. I don't know, maybe like 40 years ago, it was kind of like door to door, figure it out, in town, talk about your business. I don't know. I wonder why.
I'm living with my fucking parents right now after I sold my house for almost $250,000. That's what I'm doing right now, because I read a stat that said Elon Musk. I read a stat that said that Elon Musk, after he sold PayPal, he took his $150 million. He invested some of it to Tesla, some of it to a solar city, and then he put the rest of it into SpaceX. And then he had to borrow money to pay rent. That's Elon Musk. That's the level that you want to be, where you don't care what people think.
We're just 25 and 27 living in a basement.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No big deal.
I love it.
No big deal.
Yeah, it's no big deal, because
Yeah, we got a bathroom and a shower and a table,
and
clearly.
a place for the cat litter. It's great. It's just like,
Poor Lowell.
what else do you need? No, but this is what I'm talking about, guys. Like, it's serious. It's like, what are your real goals, and what do you really care what other people think? Do you really care? Because apparently 18 to 33-year-olds, number one fear is the judgment that surrounds
Come
them.
on, that's the best age too.
As they go out to be entrepreneurs.
We're in between that, and it's the best age. Go take the risk. Go do the thing. Go do something that you're so passionate about, and then fail 50 times. And I promise you, by the 50th time, you're gonna know that thing inside out, inside backwards, whatever other way, and you're just gonna succeed, and you're gonna fall through, and so much is going to come out of that.
You guys have no idea how easy it
What
is
a
to
fun
make.
age this is, guys. Whoever is 18 to 33 year, like, what a freaking fun age to be at.
You can do anything you want. Seriously, anything. Like,
Yeah.
oh, what AJ? What about when I lose all my money if I do this venture? You guys have no idea how easy it is to make that back.
And
I'm
what
serious,
if you
like,
don't?
Okay, what if you don't?
You have a 50-50 chance. That's pretty
Here's your
dang
standard.
good.
Here's your standard.
Average, I think.
Here's your standard. Do you think that if I said I strip everything from you, all your money, everything, you think you'd figure out a way to eat every day? You'd probably figure that out. You'd probably go snacking somewhere.
I'd pull some grapes off of like
I'm just telling you how you guys have no
shelves,
idea.
or ShopRite if you're in
I'm sure that you guys wouldn't starve, because you're that resourceful to say, I'm at least going to figure out how I can make enough money to feed myself, or how I can do this to feed myself. Now, what if your standard was much higher? What if your standard was like, I will not take less than $10,000 a month, and I will find out any resource I can to do that? You say, wow, that's a huge perspective change, AJ. I don't know if I could do that. It's the same thing. You're going to find enough resources to make sure you can hit that $10,000 mark a month. That's the game here. But you got to understand that the people horizontal to your left and your right, they don't know you like you know you. They don't know your soul. They don't know your dreams. They don't know your passions. They don't know what you're born to do. I'm telling you, what you were born to do, what divine purpose was put in your life to do, they might not know.
And just to finish up and recap here, think about this. The stats said the number one fear, the number one thing holding people back was like judgment of others. It wasn't the lack of resources. Clearly, we're super resourceful. Google, hello. Everyone knows about Google.
Yeah, everything in the world free, all the knowledge in the world.
It's not
free.
a lack of money. Again, being resourceful. Who can you talk to? How can I fund this? What's the next step? It wasn't lack of experience. Hey, if you've got a great idea and you think you were the one to do it, then yeah, all right, you've got the experience. You are self-experienced. You've got this. It wasn't lack of experience. What was the other one that was on there? Failing. It wasn't even failing. Like, people are like, honestly, it's getting over yourself. You are holding yourself back. It's getting over the hump that you have in your brain that you put there. Nobody else put it there. You and your what ifs and your buts and your maybes this could happen. So get over that. Get over that hump. You are the one holding yourself back. That's the number one reason. It's yourself.
Just one last thing to close with. Think about it this way. If you did fail, or you are afraid of doing something, think about is there somebody out there who you absolutely don't care what they think? And then think about how that feels to know that, well, I really don't care what that person thinks. And then think, what if that was everybody? And then it would totally change your perspective. So I'm trying to get at, guys, is understand who's a valuable person to have in your life that's going to allow you to all roads lead back to your highest purpose. All roads are going to encourage you and uplift you to do the things you were meant to do. And put more of those people in your life. You're the 5 people you surround yourself with. If the people, like I said, test the spirits, right? Test the people. If they're limiting you and stopping you from doing something, then that's probably not a good one. That's going to hold you back. That'll be a chain. That'll be a shackle limiting you to that level of thinking. Or there could be someone that uplifts you, that encourages you, that gives you an idea, that gives you resources, that gives you solutions to your problems. Those are good people to surround yourself with. So think about that. Be very careful who you put in and out of your life. So guys, this is awesome. The number one reason people 18 to 33 do not follow through with their dreams, passions, and businesses is because they have a fear of being judged by other people.
And they didn't even start the business yet.
They didn't do anything.
They didn't even start it, and they're already fearing judgment.
So don't let the ideas die in your head, in your soul, in your heart, because of what somebody who doesn't even know you may think of you.
Just a human opinion. That's all it is. It's just some other human spewing their opinions all over you.
Just be like a shield, like a fortress, like a steel cage. Nothing gets through here except for really valuable shit. That's the filter. We'll have a little portal here, like a little mailbox holder, right? But think about it that way, guys. And that's really what we want to talk about today. Marissa didn't.
I don't get that.
Well, anyway, guys, once again, my name is Aaron Armstrong.
Hi, Marissa Armstrong. Thanks for hanging out with us today, everyone.
We do this, we move these to Sunday night. So we're going to start doing these every Sunday night. You'll find us here on Instagram, and you'll also find us here on Facebook. So.
Ooh, yeah, or they just don't have any direction in general. Somebody put for not millennials, for number one reasons holding people back, just no direction in general. I mean, that's another thing.
Yeah, that's the inner work, though, right? Mm-hmm. So the inner work is to find out, where are you guiding yourself, right? Where do you need to go? And not necessarily where you need to go, but who do you need to become? Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing we always want to ask ourselves. Like, if you decided today, I'm going to be more confident, I'm not going to care what other people think if it's not serving me. I'll be humble enough to listen to those who I know have value within them, who are doing it from a higher place. Because you want to listen to people because you can learn something from everybody. But you don't want to take the opinions of them to your soul unless it's uplifting you in a way, right? So that's what you got to start to think about. That's the vetting solution you should do. But think about who you want to become. Are you going to want to be someone that lives in fear of judgment? Or are you going to be somebody that wants to blaze a trail? Be like an impenetrable freaking force going through this world. No bullet can stop you. Nothing can bring you down. Do you want to be like that? Because that's who I want to be. Yes. And that's who I'm trying to encourage you guys to be like as well. And we can do this together. We can uplift each other. And that's what we're here for. So once again, guys, my name is Aaron Armstrong. This is my wife, Marissa Armstrong. This is podcast Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews, which I'm hosting now on Sunday nights. We're going to do live. I also bring in guests from all over the country, different leadership examples all over the place that I host on my show. You can find that on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes, the whole works. Also Facebook here on Sunday nights. So we're going to start doing 6:30 Central Time. You can always find us here. DM me, send me any messages. If you're seeing this on Facebook, give a like, comment, share it. If you're catching this on YouTube,
tell us what you think. We want your opinions. We're not afraid to be judged. Judge us.
Yeah, judge us. Say whatever you want. I get trolls all the time. It's great. I mean, it just gives me an idea.
What does it mean? It has to be like a mean judgment.
I don't really care either way. It's just like, what are people thinking, right? And that's really what I'm interested in. Like, if someone's just doing something because they want to be validated by a trolling comment, that's fine. They just want to be validated. They have a need. They need to feel significant in a way. And the only way they can do that is to try and tear down other influencers. Whatever. I don't really care. If that's what you need to do, then freaking put a nasty comment on my damn Instagram. I don't really care. Because I have bigger places to go. That's just like a little gnat biting my ankle. I don't really give a shit. I'm looking at the alligator, you know? Like, if I'm down in the swamps, I don't care about the mosquito. I care about the alligator. And it's like, that's where I'm going. I want to face the bigger problems, the ones that do matter. So it's like, start thinking about that in your life. Don't let those little gnats and mosquitoes bite at you. Try to face the bigger problems, because that's where we're going.
We're going to dinner.
you're going to dinner
right now.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Winners, Wallets, Worldviews. You can find me at AaronJArmstrong.com. You can follow me on Instagram at AaronArmstrong33. And you can always send me DMs on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I always respond to you guys and try to give you as much value as you can. Ever have any questions, reach out. I'm here for you. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a fantastic evening.
Adios.